Project and then Veterinary Council of Nigeria. Stay tuned for this wonderful event. Our agenda for today, first, we'll be done with the introductions, and Dr. Zainab will be taking us through a brief about Pharmalat. Then we'll take the pre-quiz, we'll go into the main event, the study for the day, after which we'll have open discussions. Question. The chat box, if you can hear us clearly. We'll be happy if everyone in the room or some can at least just leave in the chat box if you can hear us clearly. Thank you. Okay, we'll proceed now. Your individual data will be kept confidential and handled by authorized personnel. These data may be used for reports, maps, communications, surveys, quality assurance evaluation, research, and to inform new initiatives. This session is being recorded. We'll be sharing a PDF version of the slides after the session. Tips for participants. Have your camera on. The facilitator will unmute you when you need to speak. Please use the raise hand feature in Zoom when you want to speak. Kindly also use the chat function for any questions or contributions or notations. We'll be handing you over now to Dr. Bill so she can give us the brief about Pharmalat. Dr. Zainab, are you online with us and are you ready?
Yes, good morning, Ma.
Good morning.
Well then. So, hi everyone, my name is Dr. Zainab Abdullahi, and I serve as Community Engagement Officer for Pharmalat. Pharmalat is an animal health social enterprise founded in 2019 with the primary mission of enabling easy access to affordable animal health care in undeserved communities in Africa. Animal diseases are the leading cause of losses to livestock farmers and pet owners, accounting for over 70% of total damage. Unfortunately, the animal health system in Africa leaves little to be desired and goes a long way to adversely affect those farmers, pet owners, who are the lifeline of our local food system. At Pharmalat, we have been able to combine our relevance as a major animal health care brand in the marketplace with our mission of ensuring easy availability, accessibility, and affordability of this animal health product and services across the country. We partner with local animal health professionals, mainly veterinarians, who partners with these local farmers, pet owners in building an inclusive system for sustainable animal health and disease prevention. We also foster a peer-to-peer network where access to regular animal health products, veterinary services, and pieces of training are easily obtained, and learning at various levels of farmers' interaction shared. Summarily, we are enabling easy access to quality animal health across Nigeria and soon across Africa. Our Tecla sections are in partnership between the largest privately held animal health company in the world, Boehringer Ingelheim and Ashoka, an organization designed to support social entrepreneurs using the Making More Health platform with the help of NDOC, our executive partners. Our Tecla sessions mostly moves knowledge rather than people by utilizing digital technology like the video conferencing application we are currently using. And it is our utmost desire that you will find this session both useful and inspiring in your various chosen areas of specialty. Once again, I warmly welcome you all to our ever-growing animal health community, where we drive absolute pleasure in helping you win. Please enjoy this session. Once again, you're highly welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zainab. Thank you for that. So we'll proceed to the pre-quiz. Now, today's pre-quiz is quite interesting. I encourage all participants to join and see what we all know about today's topic. The pre-quiz will be going up now. Okay. So it has started, and we'll encourage you all to join and to participate. You'll be saying whether it's true or false based on what you perceive or what you know with regards to today's topic. We're yet to record any engagements, so participants, please join, engage. The poll will be open for a couple of minutes, and then we'll close it down and see what we have. Thank you for participating. We can see the poll is getting some attention from you all. Thank you. This is quite interesting, and it's eye-opening for all of us in the community. Keep participating. Okay. We're getting to the tail end of our timeout for this. Thank you for engaging and for participating. Okay. Okay. We will take the quiz again at the end of the event and the lecture, but this is good. This is good enough. And very enlightening. Thank you so much, Backend, for loading this up. We will go into the main event now. I'll be introducing our hub experts just before they begin their presentations. So stay with us and listen carefully. Okay. So our first hub expert is Associate Professor Peter Ofemile Yusuf. He has his DVM, MSc, PhD, and he's also a member of the College of Veterinary Surgeons. He's a member of EquiTab Snake Venom Research Group for the UK and also Nigeria. He is a member International Society on Toxinology. Associate Professor Peter is an expert in venomics, herpetology, zootoxicology, and wildlife medicine, specifically reptile medicine. He is an associate professor of zootoxicology and consultant for wildlife medicine with the esteemed Ahmed Bello University in Zaria. We are grateful to have, if he is, okay, sir, we see you, sir. Thank you very much for joining. We're unmuting you now. So you can start your presentation, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, my able moderator.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I can see. Can you start sharing the slides? I'm moving away from my office because of a network issue. Here I will be discussing on the economic importance, impact of snake-related tourism, revenue generation, and snake venom for drug development. I'm going to be specific on snake venom and drug development. Now, for a start, what is this venom we're talking about? Venom is a highly specialized, actually fascinating cocktail of enzymes and non-enzymatic proteins. Other components of venom generally, sugars, biogenic amines, fatty acids, minerals, inorganic components, and so many other toxins that are yet to be fully studied by man. Now, venom, the use of venom to the animal depends on the species of animal. While in most species, venom are used predominantly for defense, in snakes, venom is rather a feeding adaptation, not a defense adaptation. That is, snake will prefer to feed with their venom than to use it to attack anybody. Now, the proteinous nature of venom was first described by Charles Lucien Bonaparte, son of the great younger brother to Napoleon Bonaparte in 1843. Ever since then, so many components of snake venom have been elucidated. Now, venomous species are found in 5 out of the 18 family of snakes, meaning 13 snake families are completely non-venomous. In fact, out of the 5 family, there is a family called Colubridae, where we have 65% of the total snake population. And in this family, only Dipholidus typhus and Telostonis kitlandi have been reported to be venomous. Every other one is non-venomous. This takes us to the belief that only 10% of snakes globally are actually venomous, while 90% of snakes known to man are actually non-venomous species. Now, most snakes employ not less than 12 of these venom-based enzymes in their venom each time they strike. But this is highly an understatement, because we know that the mystery that is bound up in the venom of a snake is still unraveled by man. In fact, we know that only about 5 to 10% of the actual component of the venom is actually known by man. But we all agree on one point, that venom remains a very rich cocktail of both pharmaceuticals and toxins that will be helpful in different aspects of human endeavor. That the modes of action of these venoms and their biological pathway in the body of man and animal have actually led to a lot of toxicological researches, which have brought up a lot of products that we'll be discussing about later. Traditionally, snake venoms are classified based on their modes of action. We have venom that are said to be hemotoxic because they act primarily in the blood. There are venoms that are said to be neurotoxic because they act on both the peripheral and the central nervous system. We have venom that are said to be necrotoxic because of their activity on muscle cells and tissues. And we also have venom that are said to be hepatotoxic, nephrotoxic, cardiotoxic, and etc. But the fact remains that there is no single venom known to man that has only one of those characteristics. It is either it is primarily neurotoxic but cytotoxic, or it is primarily hemotoxic but necrotoxic. Now, all these just describe what they do when they get to the human body. Based on this, I want to look at the medicinal some medical uses of snake venom. Next slide. Now, next slide. Now, let's look at some medical use of snake venom. Antivenom was produced more than a century ago by Albert Calmet in 1895. Now, what he did was that he used the venom of a snake called Naja Naja to
Sir? Okay, we lost audio there.
yeah.
Okay,
Now
okay. Okay,
good.
sir, okay. Please proceed.
Now, what Albert Camus did was that he used the venom of a snake called Naja Naja to hyperimmunize horses. Yes. Yeah, to hyperimmunize horses. Then he was able to isolate immunoglobulins from the blood of those horses and use them to treat humans that were bitten by snake. And that was how the science of antivenom started. Now, ever since then, antivenom has been produced all over the world. The system have not changed, but rather the technique have not changed. It's just that it had undergone several modifications to get to where we are today. Now, but as early as 1942, an enzyme from the venom of from the snake venom was known to contain a vasodilation converting enzyme inhibitor. Now, and also, then this is a kind of bradykinin that was used to treat people with different heart ailments. Now, in as research continued to progress, natural compounds were now removed, were now synthesized from snake venom to challenge cancer cells. And as I talk to you now, there is a product called Baptisma, which is produced by the Liverpool Institute for Tropical Medicine from the venom of the market viper. And this has shown a lot of promise in the management of cancer of the breast and cancer of the cervix. Now, this now begin to tell us that this
please let's hold on a little bit so that Prof can come back. There's some network glitch from his axis, and it's severe today. Prof, are you with us, sir? We lost you on audio, sir. Backend, is there an assistance we can provide to our hub expert? Let's time to rejoin. I would use this time to begin to introduce our second hub expert. Okay, Prof, sir.
So are we still together?
Yes, sir. We lost you at the point where you were speaking about the
Hello, can the moderator hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. We heard you up to the point where you spoke about the use in cancer research. Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir. We can hear you now, sir, except you've gone off again.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear
now,
you.
we said the breakthrough was the synthesis of captopril from a Brazilian snake, Botrop jacaranda, where they were able to synthesize an angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor, which today is known as captopril. The tablet used mostly by people suffering from high blood pressure. Now, later after the synthesis of captopril, an analog of captopril called an enalapril was later synthesized. This, of course, gave a Nobel Prize in medicine that year to John Vane, who actually was the scientist behind the story of captopril. Having achieved this, scientists now began to look at snake venom differently from what they used to know, from just a cocktail that causes death to something that can actually change the fortune of the pharmaceutical industry. So a lot of research started going in. Now, other drugs began to pop up from these researches. For example, we know that there is a compound called cobrotoxin, which was synthesized from the venom of the black mamba. Now, cobrotoxin was tested and shown to have 50% more efficacy than even morphine as an analgesic. Does not have addictive effect, does not have drug dependence, but still at the stage of clinical trial. Now, with all this, we began to face a lot of challenges relating to snake bite. This takes us to the Nigerian experience. Now, snake bite in Nigeria, snake bites as a disease is an occupational and public health hazard that affects mostly the productive members of the society, even leading to threats in food security. This is because the most affected members of the community are first farmers, then herdsmen, then fishermen. And if you look at this trend, this is a direct affront on the Nigerian economy or food security. But despite all this, Nigeria as a country does not produce antivenom. Now, if you look at that, retrospective studies have shown that we have over 6 million snake bites per year globally, out of which 3 million leads to actual envenoming, with over 400,000 cases of permanent physical disability and over 300,000 deaths annually. Now, in sub-Saharan Africa, we have about 400,000 bites with 7,300 deaths annually. Now, if you look at the burden of snake bites in South African sub-region, Nigeria alone accounts for over 25% of total snake bites in the whole of Africa. Yet, Nigeria is still far behind when it comes to antivenom production. Now, the major snakes that is responsible for snake bite in Nigeria is Aedes ocellatus. Aedes ocellatus is known in English as the carpet viper, which the Hausa we call kububua or gobedenisa, which the Kanuris refer to as fushi. The Fulful they call it fotore. In Igbo, it is called echeteka or echedime, while the Yoruba refers to it as paramole. Now, this snake is found all over Nigeria. In fact, in parts of Edo State, like the Okpela region where I come from, they also refer to it as Afui, meaning it is all over the country. Now, this is the only snake in Africa that is known to bite without provocation. And it is here with its natural home in the Benue River Basin, which cuts across southern Kaduna and Lower Plateau, Yobe, Benue, and all the surrounding states. Now, with this snake actively there is therefore no doubt that Nigeria as a nation deserves to be one of the countries that produces antivenom. But unfortunately, if you look at the map, the global map that is projected on the screen, you will see that only 4 countries produce antivenom in Africa, one of which is Morocco, then Tunisia, then Egypt and South Africa. Now, Egypt and South Africa have supplied antivenoms to Nigeria. But the problem there is that due to commercial pressure on antivenom, that is Cyma coming from South Africa, the South African companies are now concentrating only on the South African sub-region, leaving Nigeria very vulnerable. Then Egypt, where University of Cairo in Egypt is known to produce a product known as Vaxera, which later became Egyptera, is now focusing only on Egypt because after the Arab Spring, there was a lot of commercial pressure on them and their products could not really get to the Nigerian market, leaving Nigeria to the mercy of Microfarm in the UK, which is producing Equitab G in the UK, in Oxford, specifically for the venom of Aedes oscillatus. But we have other snakes in Nigeria. So the Instituto Clodomiro Picado, University of Costa Rica, stepped in and came up with a polyvalent antivenom, which we know as Equitab G+, currently very effective against the venom of most Nigerian snakes. But here is the dilemma. As of last week, my people still have to inform me from Kaltungo, the snakebite treatments, the National Snakebite Treatment Center, telling me that there is no antivenom coming in again from the government, and that the pharmacists that are getting this antivenom are selling between 170 to 200,000 naira per vial, meaning for a full dose, you need about 800,000, which is for Equitab G+, meaning 4 vials per patient. Now, people are now left to using 2 to 3 vials because that is what they can afford. Of course, as scientists, we know what the remaining venom can still do to vital organs in the human body, which can lead to kidney failure, liver failure, and other more terrible diseases, more chronic diseases that could affect human health. Now, what is the prospect? Looking at this, the Nigerian people are now going back to using other alternatives as for treatment of snake bite. Now, what are these alternatives? If you go to the next picture, you will see on the picture on the upper right, you will see somebody using what we call the black stone, or what's no, not this one, the pathologist. Now, you will see what they call the black stone. Now, this is a kind of commercial gimmicks that is very prevalent in Nigeria. People take this black stone, take it to churches and call it Jerusalem stone. Now, Jerusalem stone, believing that when there is bite, you can make incision, put it there, and it suck out venom. Now, because Nigeria is a very Christian state, most Christians go buying these stones, calling it Jerusalem stone. But the same commercial people takes it to the mosques on Friday and sell it as Medina or Medina stone, so that the Muslim will now see it as a holy stone coming from Medina to buy, with the thinking that it can actually absorb venom. But if you look at the picture, you can see, if the moderator can kindly show us those pictures. You see in the first one, there is a black stone there before she was brought to the hospital. And of course, you can see that the black stone did not in any way help the victim. The next one, not this one, the one before this. Yeah, here. Oh, go back to the last one. Go back to that picture. No, the next one. Yeah, no, not this one. The other one you projected before this. This one, yes. Now, yeah, you can see the second picture I tried to show. Moderator, please go back to those pictures. The second picture you see there, yeah, you can see that that patient has rubbed herbs on that hand after she has drank some. Now, the belief is that when you drink these herbs and you vomit out the venom. Venom you didn't swallow, so there is no way you can vomit it out. So at the end of the day, people get delayed. They don't go to hospital. and they end up losing their life. Now, the next picture, you see a device, which is an electrical device that is imported mostly by politicians and given to religious leaders and community leaders. They believe that following bite, the picture just below it is the electrodes. They fix this electrode at the site of bite and at the opposite end, while they regulate the voltage with the device at the top. Now, they believe that with the electric current going into the body of the victim, it will neutralize the venom. But hell no, this doesn't happen that way, because the venom you have there is not such that can be neutralized by electric shock. So what do? This can only increase the chances of paralysis by the victim. Now, if you look at the next one, this was a Fulani boy I handled in Kaltungo some years back. He was beaten on that finger, you can see. And in a bid to prevent the venom from going around the body, he took his cutlass and chopped up that finger. At the end of the day, it didn't stop the venom from circulating through the body. The one next to it, you can see, is a very tight tourniquet that person is tying with Jerusalem stone, or Er Medina still there. And now, thinking tying the leg will prevent the venom from circulating through the body. But hell no, it didn't. And the Jerusalem stone could not absorb the venom back. At the end of the day, these people end up in the hospital. The next picture will show you what happens when people use this kind of first aid methods. And if you go to the next picture, the first person you see there was a lady who was beaten in Bauchi, Alkalari Leku government area specifically. She used one of, the next picture, please. She used some of these methods, and before she got to the hospital, she began to show the sign, which we call hematosis. This is because the carpet viper venom has the capability of breaking capillaries. And you can see, despite the fact she was beaten on the leg, the capillaries in the ocular region were severed and blood oozed directly into the eye. Thank God she was rushed to the hospital. This was just about 5 days after bite, where she was treated and the eye was saved. Now, the one at the middle there is a small girl in Wunti Dada in Bauchi State who was beaten by a cobra. You can see they tried to use these traditional methods, but the wet gangrene set in, and you can see the way the hand turned. At the end of the day, nothing happened. Now, the other one, you can even see the bone, one of the toe is gone with the bone projecting there. Now, what is happening there is that this person was beaten and he didn't come immediately till 3 days after bite. So at the end of which gangrene had set in, the whole place had to be debrided, and this is left with what you are seeing here. The first, at the edge there, the left side, you can see somebody with multiple blisters as a result of carpet viper bite. He was beaten on the finger. He used the Jerusalem stone, as you can see there, and thinking it has sucked out the venom. After some days, this is what we have, multiple blisters. He had to still come back to General Hospital Kaltungo, where we managed him medically. The one at the middle was 4 days post-bite. Now, the one at the extreme end, lower there, this lady was beaten, took a lot of herbs, used Jerusalem stone, brought to the hospital. That leg had to be amputated from the knee, because in snake bite, once antivenom is not given on time, what happens is that there is what we call ascending dry gangrene, which is what you are seeing there. This is very particular with viper bites, and as a result, this leg had to be amputated from the nail. Now, having seen this effect in Nigeria, I am most concerned with what happened with the venom of this snake and how the society react to it and what should be done to curtail some of these challenges. Now, let's go to the next slide. In the next slide, I try to look at the prospect in snake venom. The first one I talked about is venom marketing and snake farming. Now, all over the world, including United Arab Emirates, we have snake farms where venomous snakes are bred or kept and are routinely released back into the wild and milked for commercial purposes. Now remember, initially I started by telling you that snake venom is a feeding adaptation. So in snake farming, unlike other farming, you don't keep snakes for too long. You milk them like 2-3 times and you let them go back to the wild. This is because it is a feeding adaptation. If you keep the snakes for too long, what happens is that they begin to switch up certain genes that code for certain parts of the venom because you are feeding them, you are providing the feed, no competition for feed. So there is no need maintaining a highly toxic venom. So snake farming is such that you have to bring them in, milk 2-3 times or 4 times at most, and release them back into the wild. But unfortunately, this very lucrative market, this multi-billion dollar market that the whole world is benefiting from, is not feasible and is not cannot be seen in Nigeria. When I was told that there was one along owned by a general with around Kefi Abuja Express Road, I was so excited. Went there with my postgraduate students. Lo and behold, what did I see there? Pythons. Pythons are non-venomous. You can't get venom from python. This was just more of tourism. This was something that was made mainly for skin, for hides and skin, and probably for fats from which some people use for pharmaceutical purposes. So again, the market is there, it's fallow, nobody is doing it. People are stigmatizing this snake instead of taking advantage of them. So we are now in the business of trying to sensitize people who have the resources to venture in. We can give the technical training on how to restrain, how to milk, how to process the venom, how to store it, how to transport it, and how to market. Now, the next thing we're looking at is personnel development and mentorship. Now, the personnel we are talking about here are the vets and the para-vets, because snake business, the venom business is purely a professional thing. You cannot bring somebody on the street and start introducing him to how to milk or handle snake or use venom. That is why we have a lot of fake venom in Nigeria circulating. People want to do research, they go to snake handlers, they get venom that are wrongly, first the snakes are wrongly identified, the venom is wrongly milked and wrongly processed. So you lose a lot of the enzymatic activity. So this personal training is something that is ongoing, that we encourage, that we've been giving to people who are interested, especially vets. Also, the field of zootoxicology, which is specific for snake venom or venomous animals generally, is still in its infancy in Nigeria. We're still encouraging people to come in so that they can get this specialized training. And if possible, go to the market where the competition is, where the money is, instead of just hiding in the academic institution as some of us have chosen as a career. Now, the major problem of snake venom in Nigeria is that of legislation. We do not have a strong legislation like other countries. In India, you kill a snake, is 6 years in jail. In US, you kill a snake, you are going to the jail. But in Nigeria, people kill at sight, thereby altering the ecosystem, destroy our habitat fauna, and making it difficult for us to have tools for research in other pharmaceuticals, in other diseases that are even more deadly than the snake bite itself. I remember here in Nigeria, we have been able to even synthesize antitrypanosome from the venom of Aedes otilatus. If you go online, we've published it on Toxicon. It's there for you to see. Zinc metalloproteinase, which was very effective, even more effective than even diamynazine, which we use as the positive control. Now, apart from the legal framework, the conservation issue. Now, a lot of people talk about conservation in Nigeria, but you hardly hear conservation of snakes. As I talk to you now, Nigeria is believed to have 60 species of animals that are found only in Nigeria. Some of them are snakes. A good example is a species we call Mehelia egbensi, which is only found in Nigeria. When I started this research some years back, we could get those snakes easily. Today, you will be in the field for over 2 years and you will not see one. Why? Because it is gradually going to extinction. People continue to kill them indiscriminately. Look at the hoodless cobra, Pseudohaja nigra, which used to be everywhere in the north. call the Hausa man, tell him Sadaraki, and he will show you Sadaraki. Today, call the Hausa man to show you Sadaraki, you will never see it. Because of what? No deliberate conservation effort to preserve this species of snake. And if care is not taken, we may lose it, and our children may have nothing to see as Nigeria habitable fauna. So again, the area of conservation is an area we are calling on scientists, and we are calling on policy holders who can get the money for us to preserve these snakes so that we don't lose them. Finally, we looked at the area of research and development. Well, in Nigeria, snake venom research is still at its infancy. We are not even producing the most simplest thing, which is antivenom. Antivenom production can turn over the fortune of this country. The government will make billions of naira annually from this thing. What we need to start the production of antivenom will not even be up to 100 million. But the problem now is that because there is no proper training, research and development, people are not harnessing this very important economic hub to make money. Imagine one antivenom in Nigeria today, a polyvalent antivenom is going for 200,000 per vial, meaning a full dose is 800,000. If we are producing it here, our people can access it at less than 20,000 naira, and we still import to, neighboring African nation and make a lot of foreign exchange from it. If the government is not interested, what about the veterinary profession? What about BCN? What about MVMA? What about you and I as vets? Can't we come together, get resources together, produce this antivenom, and build our people from all this? The challenge in Nigeria is more of the antivenom availability, because our people are dying every day from these bites. Finally, I want to thank everybody for your audience, for taking our time to listen to this presentation. I also want to encourage that as much as possible, people should pick interest in these animal venoms, not just snake venom. Also, we have venom from insects like scorpion venom, which is the most expensive fluid in the world today. Ladies and gentlemen, Cuba is making more money from their scorpion venom than any other resources they have. Cuba used their scorpion venom to produce Vidadox, an immune booster used in the management of diseases, especially immune suppressive diseases like HIV, cancer, and the rest of them. But what do we do to our venom? We kill the animals, thereby killing the economy of the nation as well. So I encourage you people as much as possible. If you need training, we provide the training. You can come to Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. We give you the training. We'll give you all the technical assistance we can give you, but we are calling on people as much as possible to venture into this business. Thank you very much, and God bless you. So,
to enlighten us further at the questions and contributions section. Thank you so much. I'll be introducing our next hub expert. I'll read his citation, and then I am trusting that he can come up as soon as I'm done reading his citation.
okay.
Next, we'll be having Dr. Mark Ofua. He is a veterinarian and conservationist of over 16 years experience. He holds a DVM and his master's also in veterinary medicine from the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. He is passionate about saving endangered wildlife species in Nigeria through rescue, rehabilitation, and release efforts. He does this through interventions and conservation crusades to protect wildlife, including endangered species sold in the bushmeat markets, as well as from the wildlife trade. Dr. Ofua is the founder and chairman of St. Mark's Animal Rescue Foundation, Eco Kids Conservation Club, and consults for Wild Aid and Wild Africa. He seeks collaboration with other wildlife conservationists. He is a member of the IUCN Small Carnivore Group. He established and runs the first animal shelter in Nigeria, St. Mark's Hospital and Animal Shelter. He also manages the St. Mark's Lufasi soft release site for pangolins in Nigeria. He has been featured severally on national and international platforms for his contributions to conservation, to wildlife protection, and as part of sensitization efforts towards conservation and wildlife protection in Nigeria, including being on BBC and the National Geographic. He has also been featured severally in various national media for his conservation efforts, especially with pangolins, the world's most trafficked mammal facing extinction. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. You have the floor now. Please educate us. We're here. Thank you so much. So I give you Dr. Marco Fua.
For that citation reading. Thank you, everyone, for having me. Thank you, Farmalad, for putting this together.
Thank you, sir.
Please, audience, I must crave your indulgence. I have a bit of a cold, so forgive me if I cough or sneeze at some point. Thank you very much, Professor Femili, for that presentation. I learned a thing or two. That was very interesting. After the presentation, it was doing me like I should start running away from snakes, especially after seeing those pictures. And he raised some very, very salient and important points as to why we are where we are in this country concerning our response to venom. One thing is snake bites or envenomation is usually, especially in Nigeria, is usually, in quotes, the disease of the poor. You see, it's usually those in the rural, remote areas going to farm or something that are usually exposed to snake bites, you see. And like all diseases of the poor at the back burner, if snake bite was to cut across cadres, you would see that, yes, the responses will be more generalized and faster. All right, without much ado, let me delve into my topic, the economic impact of snake-related tourism in Nigeria. At first, it was as if my work was not weird enough, but after the last presentation, it looks even weirder. Why would anybody want to go near a snake? But let me break the ice by telling a very short story about this woman in the picture. That is a venomous snake she's holding. And you could see the love in her eyes with which she was looking at the snake. That's a very, very venomous snake. Now, this woman, like everybody, grew up with this healthy fear of snakes. She was afraid of, she won't go near a snake for any reason. And then one day, her son, a teenage boy, was like, I want a pet snake. The woman was like, no, 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 you're not getting a snake in my house. And the boy kept at it. And her friend gave her an advice. And she told the boy that, look, if you can, because the boy was failing at his grades. And he was like, if you can get up to the 80th percentile in your class, be among the first 20, you would get a pet snake. And she thought that would be the end of it. The boy put himself to his academics and was not only in the 80th percentile, the boy got into the 90th percentile. He was among the first 10 in his class. And he was like, you have to maintain it the next time. She meant he did. And at the point, she knew that it was going to be almost, wicked of her to deny the boy his request. And I said, okay, you're going to get a pet snake, but first you go to a snake handling course. You go for a snake handling course so that you know all about snakes before you get a snake. And then the boy said, fair. So because the place is, she is in South Africa. So because the place is far, she would drive the boy for the class. And then while the boy is having the class, she would stay at the back because she didn't want anything to do with snakes. And she kept hearing, without trying to, she was pressing phone or other things, but she was listening to the classes and everything. When the boy finished his class and got his own snake, she started the class formally. And at a point, she resigned her job that she was working with the South African government and became a full-time helper. That's what she's doing now. And she was the one that taught me snake handling at the South African Venom Institute. So her story, why I always like starting with her story is If she can come from one extreme to the opposite end, then anybody that has a healthy fear of snakes can also change. Now, this is very important. Also in India, there was this thing, I think during the colonial times, they were having issues with snake. Next slide, please. They were having issues with snake infestation. And the government was like, oh, okay, if you can bring snake, if you kill a snake and bring, or you catch a snake and bring, we will give you £5. And then people were catching snakes. And it worked up to a time because people were catching snakes for money. At a point, they realized that this is a source of wealth, though. The government now started seeing an increase in the number of snakes. It was reducing, and then it went on a sudden increase in the number of snakes they were bringing. This was very, 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 by the time they investigated into it. We're having some interruptions.
Why did you keep that?
By the time they investigated into it and why this sudden increase in the number of snakes, they realized that some people had started breeding snakes so that they'll be turning into the government free of charge. And that also tells us that, yes, with the right policies in place and all that, we can change. We can turn the change the status quo around and have our snakes back again. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
you
you
are.
can, but the slides, the projection is frozen.
Okay, so we're on introduction now. I can see on my screen introduction. Snake-related tourism as a niche in Nigeria's wildlife tourism sector. When I got this topic as what I should speak on, I laughed because the topic itself is going to be more or less a prophecy. Nigeria hardly has a wildlife tourism sector. Not to then talk about snake tourism or snake-related tourism as a niche. Well, the good thing is, as at 2 years ago, when I took a course in Zimbabwe, and the lecturer was going on, and he put a map of Africa on the board, and he was talking about East Africa and North Africa, South Africa, Southern Africa, East Africa and Southern Africa. And it was painful to me because I was there, and he was jumping the West. So I raised my hand and I said, sir, you're talking about these 2 regions. You're not mentioning Western Africa at all, but we have wildlife in West Africa. The statement he made was like, the veterinarians in West Africa are not ready yet. They're not serious. They're not ready yet. When they are ready to start doing what they should do, then West Africa will be in the map. I was very, very hurt by that remark. And I said, no, we must do something to change the status quo. Now, it's interesting because slowly and surely, the wildlife tourism sector in Nigeria is being developed. I know this because I am very, very much involved. Formerly, you had just the government aspect of wildlife tourism, of wildlife sector, but you have private individuals coming in now, both as veterinarians and as investors and everything. So yes, in a very short while, we're going to have something in this region. Nigeria's rich biodiversity and cultural significance of snakes in some regions. Now, the interesting thing is, there are some animals that can only be found in certain regions of the world. And that's it. There's nothing you can do about that. Pangolins, for example, are found only in Africa and Asia. Apes, the gorillas and chimpanzees, they are found in only certain regions of the world. So also are snakes found only in certain regions of the world. And until we begin to showcase our rich biodiversity, we would be shortchanging ourselves, like Professor Ofemili said, you know. Now, in my work on snakes here in Nigeria, I have seen some snakes that have not been seen anywhere else. I've seen some snakes that the last time they were seen in other parts of the world were like 15, 20 years ago. You see, so we have a rich biodiversity, but until we begin to show this, we are going to be shortchanging ourselves. Now, for now, the only place you can get to see snakes in Nigeria are zoos, and you don't even have a one-on-one relationship with them. Wildlife sanctuaries, like one you're seeing right now, and then snake shows. We really don't have the unorganized sector for snake shows. What you have for snake shows in Nigeria are usually those abukis. Next slide, please. Are usually those Fulani minstrels that would put this on the roadside for display and all that, you see. Then, importance of snake-related tourism. Why should we even do this at all? I have mentioned one, bring the rich biodiversity that we have for other people to see. You see, there's a role in conservation, the role in protecting snake species, particularly endangered or threatened species. Now in Nigeria, conservation of our wildlife is a concept we're just beginning to grasp. As I speak to you now, I know very well that there is a bill in the floor of the National Assembly, which I'm a part of, in pursuing, that has passed the second reading to better protect our wildlife. But we're still at the fitting stage in protecting our wildlife. So far in Nigeria, the bodies, very interestingly also, that has been involved in conservation are our traditional societies. Those people whose beliefs preclude the killing of snakes. And for those of you that are in academics, let me give you something to research about. Now, it goes without thinking that where there are lots of snakes, you would have very little or few rodent population. So if you go to study these societies where there are snakes protected by their beliefs, I know of the East, Anambra State, some villages, they don't kill snakes. If you go and study these societies, you'll find out that rat-borne diseases will be very, very minimal in those places. Like your Lassa fever, leptospirosis, these diseases will be very, very minimal. It's a very good research topic. I've been playing with it, but anybody can take it up and read. So these are things that we need to learn. And then the economic potential, Professor Femili mentioned that there's so much money we can make from investing in snakes. Now, what are these kind of revenues that we can get? I almost every year, I make my, of course, I consult for Omuzu. I'm always at the University of Ibadan Gardens. I consult for the Krat Zoo and all that. And most of the time we have, in these places, we have pythons and all, but some of these zoos have venomous snakes too. But I do something almost once every year at least. I go to Republic of Benin. They have this snake temple, Tem do Piton, that is protected by the tradition. They have this traditional law where the snakes protected them from their enemies. And they have these snakes in their hundreds in this temple. And according to them, they release these snakes every evening. They go into the town and people feed the snakes and all because they think they are the ancestors that have come to see them. And then they come back in the morning, you see. So I do that. So just imagine if we have such places in Nigeria where you could see so many snakes in their numbers, in their different species and all that, we would attract large amount of visitors from outside the country that would bring in revenue for the country, increase our GDP, but most importantly, put money in our pockets as veterinarians. It is very, very important, and this is a very good place to look at. And then you can even kill kill two birds with one stone, because you could open a sanctuary where people will be coming to look at snakes, make revenue from tourism, and also be able to supply Professor Femili with venom to do his research and supply outside bodies with venom and make a cool source of living. So it's two birds with one stone, actually. So next slide. Next slide. All right. So this is where the traditional aspect as is different from the formal zoo settings. At the formal zoo settings, there's really very little engagement you can make because everything is formalized. The snakes are behind glasses. You really cannot engage with them. But that was me at the time do Python with several snakes on my body because you are allowed to interact with the snakes. And it's more interesting for tourism than just standing and looking at the snakes behind glasses. And the other venomous snakes, same Republic of Benin, there are places where you can interact with venomous snakes if you are so minded. That's General Buratai with one of his pythons. That's an African rock python. That's the largest. And the story that goes around that snake can swallow a human being, those stories are very far-fetched. We don't have any snake in Nigeria that can take an adult human. Maybe a very small person or a child, maybe, but not an adult human. All right, wildlife conservation sanctuaries and conservation centers. These are not maximized in Nigeria at all. These are open areas of investment, and I'm challenging my listeners today, begin to see how you can collaborate and see. You might know where we can get these specimens, and somebody else might have funds to start a sanctuary, and then somebody else might have the ability to really handle these snakes, come together and then get something going. So we have sanctuaries like the Lekki Conservation, where you see snakes in their natural places. But the challenge with that is the snakes are in the bush. Are you confident and willing to go inside the bush to meet the snake and interact with them? If not, then your enjoyment of such sanctuaries will be very, very minimal. Now, there's the visitor engagement involved in wildlife conservation. People love these animals and people want to face their fears, which is one of the things I do with these girls that are with me. I use them to teach people to overcome their fear of snakes. Professor Ofemili mentioned that in Nigeria, snakes are killed, and it is true, they are killed with prejudice. When you see a snake, the first thing that comes to your mind is kill. If your friend calls you now and say, oh, we saw a snake in the house, the first question you would ask is, did you kill it? You find out. And we have come to see that this fear that drives the killing, it's driven by fear of what you don't understand. If you overcome your fear of snakes, your wish or desire to kill them will drop drastically. So I use these guys to teach people, they come on guided tours and all that to teach people educational programs. We use it to teach people to overcome their fear of snakes so that they can change their mindset. It's very, very important. After seeing the things that snakes can do, it's wise, it's right for you to be afraid of snakes. But by the time you learn about these animals truthfully, you get to know the truth about them. You find out that they're not the killing machines that we thought they were, the mindless killing machines. That these animals actually have a pattern that you can key into and all that. You'll be able to change your mindset. You'll be able to change and see that there's money to be made in this. You understand? It's not all kill, kill, kill if you think that there is opportunity of making something from it. Next slide, please. I'm dead. Next slide. All right. That is venom collection from a viper. The venom can be sent to those that are in academics that want to use it for studies and all that. Now, another way you can actually earn from keeping snakes is snake shows and exhibition, and the cultural value they play. You see, carry snakes, and I do that here in Nigeria too, although it's still on the low. But we take these snakes to school. I prefer 100% working with children, because if I'm to teach the adults here today, if I'm to get them to carry this girl in my hand, I will talk and almost all the saliva in my mouth will finish. Trying to get an adult to be close to a snake. But children, in less than 5 minutes, they have overcome their inhibitions and they are free handling these snakes. So I go to schools, you know, you could go to schools, you could go to parks, you could go to shows, you could do exhibitions, you know, and all these are ways of generating funds and revenue. And do you know one interesting thing about snake farming? Reptile farming, actually, any reptile that you're going to farm, reptile farming is actually the easiest of all animals. These girls in my hand, they eat once in 2 weeks. And I have had one that went for 7 months without food. 7 months for just drinking water. So reptile farming is one you can do and still maintain, still do your normal work and your normal livelihood. You can travel and come back and they're still there waiting for you. Unlike poultry farming, I hear if you leave your layers one day unattended to, you pay for it for the next 10 days, you know. So that's it. There are lots of opportunities in the reptile farming, next slide, that you can make out. Next slide, please. All right, that's still me with some children. Now, another ways you can another stream of income from reptile farming is snake handling courses, snake training and snake handling courses. I'm telling you, I make more from a single snake training course that I'll make from treating 100 dogs or maybe 200 dogs. Do you understand? So these snake training courses, they pay well. Even here in Nigeria, I go for training courses and I charge up to 5M. Yeah. You can now imagine how it is outside the country. Where I went to in South Africa, I was there for 2 weeks and I paid very, very good money. And these guys, they do these courses about every 3 months because there are always people trooping in to learn how to handle this course, handling, venom collection, everything. So all this, you find out that you have this set of snakes. Let's say you have 50 snakes. These 50 snakes you're getting revenue from exhibitions, from people coming to look. You're getting revenues from venom collection and sending to pharmaceuticals. You're getting money from training courses. It's the same snake. It's the same set of animals, but multiple revenue streams. So it's something that I would want to charge 1 or 2 people here to look into because it's very, very profitable. And you can do it and still be anything else you want to be. Next slide, please. But if you choose to become a pastor, you have to convince your members. Next slide, please. Moderator, can you hear me? So this next slide is one in which I was called. These guys in these rooms are all engineers. Go back, please. The guys in these rooms are all engineers, okay? They have nothing to do with nature, so to speak. But because they are working, something just came to my mind, because they are working in new sites, where they are working in new sites, where this is in Bonic, where they actually would be felling forest and interacting with snakes. They have to be trained on reptile handling and what to do when they come face to face with a snake. Now, this also brings something to my mind. If we have a reptile association here in Nigeria that is well registered and run, and we can leverage on the government and say, oh, any new site that is going to be cleared, we must have this talk with your engineers and let them know that these snakes are protected by law and everything. These are revenue opportunities, so that any new sites that you want to clear for building, for construction, for anything, you must have a snake handling class for your staff members and all, because you will be seeing snakes. You know, this becomes a very, very good avenue income for government and for the people, you see. Next slide, please. Now, in the next slide, we're talking about the challenges in snake-related tourism. First of all, next slide, there is the challenge of, thank you very much. There's a challenge of funding. Everything I did to get to where I am today was 100% with my money. Nobody funded me or anything, you see. And I'm sure the same also goes for our able professor. I mean, you have to push yourself to anywhere if you're going to be visible. So there's a lack of funding. Nobody wants to care. Nobody wants to hear what you're saying. And that might be a challenge, especially for those in the academics that want to do research. Poaching and habitat destruction is making us lose our animals. Prof mentioned certain species of snakes that you can no longer see. So whatever we are supposed to learn from those species of snakes, we have lost them. So unless we start conserving, and that's another revenue income, somebody could go and look for those snakes that are disappearing and begin to breed them so that we reintroduce, that's another revenue income because you will get funding for that, And then there's the public misconception and safety. People think snakes are from the devil, and if you're handling a snake, you are of the devil. A lot of people think that. And for me, it has its own benefits too. I'm not very proud of this, but I know there was once I took a car, unregistered car, had an emergency and had to travel with an unregistered car. I just put this python on my neck and I drove out. I drove from Warri to Lagos and back again. And all the police and customs and what have you, when they stopped my car, when they saw the snake, they chased me again. My friend, they had nothing to want to do with me. And where I stayed before, the people, they know I have snakes. At the point where I realized that they had robbed all the houses in that street except my house, because you don't know what you're going to meet when you come in. So these misconceptions and fears, they have their positive effect, but it's one of the challenges that we're facing in snake-related tourism. And then also regulatory issues, which is almost non-existent. I imagine going to the government for license, I'll be called a witch if not chased out rightly. Next slide talks about opportunities for growth. Yes, opportunities for growth, and that's a challenge for anybody listening now to look into. There's a lot of opportunities in partnership with ecotourism. You can partner with virtually anybody. You can partner with any organization. You can partner with institutions. There's room for ecotourism boosting, community-based tourism initiative. For example, in the East, where these pythons are not killed, you could go there, talk with them, and have a place where the pythons will aggregate. And then people will start visiting, like I go to Ouida in Republic of Benin every year to go and see the snakes, that opportunity is there. And then there's increased awareness and marketing of snake-related tourism to both domestic and international audiences. I mean, if we have certain snakes that can be seen only in Nigeria, anybody that wants to work with these snakes would have to come with to Nigeria. So in conclusions and recommendations, investment in snake conservation and tourism infrastructure, we need to build a suitable place for these animals. It's one of my dreams. I actually want to have a snake temple or a snake house where you will come in and see different kinds of snakes. And, policy recommendation for improved snake tourism, both for the government and safety. And then as a final thought, the untapped potential of snake-related tourism as a major economic driver in Nigeria. The challenge I pose to you is, where would you be in this vehicle? Would you be at the forefront of it, driving the changes and the changes that would be?
Sam? Dr. Max, sir? Sorry, can we just give him a couple of minutes to regroup? I believe it's a network glitch. Just a couple more minutes. And Dr. Max, sir, are you still on the call? It's looking as if he's not currently on the call. Back end, while we wait for, okay, he's coming back. Okay. He's coming back. He needs to unmute. Okay. You need to unmute, sir. You are muted, sir. I don't know if you can hear.
All right.
Okay. Okay, we lost you, sir.
Am I back? Okay. I was touching my mouth to say that I was muted. All right. So,
sorry.
I don't know, you had the final thoughts. We challenge everybody here to determine where you're going to be in the vehicle of change. This change is going to come. But are you going to be a driver of this change, or are you just going to be a spectator? If you want to learn more about snakes and how to handle the snakes and overcome your fear of snakes so that you can be a participant in this change, you're always welcome to see Prof or myself, and we can get you to overcome your fear of snakes. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, sir. We have learned a ton. We are very grateful. And we know that we're seeing the comments and the notes. We know that participants have enjoyed today's episode. And we have a lot of questions. I'll be reading them out once we finish doing the recap. We also have some raising of hands. We'll also be taking all of that. So let me do a quick recap of what we've been able to get, and then we'll open the floor for contributions, questions, and answers. We'll be lumping in our recaps together. We've learned that venomous snakes, the giving out of venom is not for defense, as is with other animals. It's a feeding adaptation. Issues with bites are occupational hazards and public health hazards, and Nigeria is not currently producing any antivenom, and it is a purely professional business when it comes to venom production. Prof cited a challenge, which is antivenom availability, and Dr. Mark taught us quite a lot, and he tagged issues of snake bite as the rural problem. He also made us know that snake handling can be studied. And in fact, there's quite a ton that we got from him, and conservation is taking another level very soon. It's an opportunity for all of us to get involved. Okay, so veterinarians are encouraged to delve into this new area of commerce, either through tourism or the antivenom production, to generally invest in snakes. And we also understand that snake handling and training courses are available. So let's key in. There might be some challenges, especially with funding, and then the issue of misconception. So I'm sure virtually all of us have picked similar notes, and from those we have our questions and our thoughts. Back end, would you help us to unmute? We have a raise of hand from Dr. Charles Ibe. Good day, sir. Welcome on the call. Thank you very much for joining the call. You raised your hand. Can we hear from Dr. Charles Ibe, then we go into the questions? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, can I speak right now? Yeah,
yes,
thank you very much for this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for these two august speakers. Fantastic speakers, actually. I really have to say something on snakes, adaptation to humanity. I believe it's the unfriendliness to snakes that makes them to bite us, because we lived in a community, Obunka, in then Agwata, but now Urumba local government. This village or this town, they do not. It's sacred. Mamba snakes are sacred. You don't touch them. There is one big forest there, which I believe is an idle spot. Once you get them, once they get, you can see them pick them. The villagers pick them and drop them in that village. Unfortunately, when they were constructing the principal's house, they constructed it just behind that forest. And they always come into our compound and go and eat up our chicken. They've not touched anybody because they are very, very, very friendly. People were so friendly with them, and once they know that you are not their enemy, they will not attack you. Then, Wobede Nisa, he mentioned, I schooled in UNN, where there was endemicity of this highly infestation of that snake. We so dared them. But one Dr. Ibokwe, who was heading that brings us to another topic. Ibokwe was heading the medical center, adapted himself with the native doctors, got some herbs that are anti-venom, but I don't know how it expanded. It was really a big news in those days. And I believe there was no continuity. And I believe strongly that when you don't have this anti-venom or anti-this, there are certain things that made our people to survive these snakes. Maybe they were few, maybe some people were getting the wrong one. And snakes originally were thought to be the viper he was talking about as hepatotoxic, but I think they found out that they are hemotoxic. And then he didn't mention about the neurotoxic. They didn't mention about the neurotoxic ones, that's the mambas, the cobras, and he just mentioned that the snakes under the viviparidae. Come to Ahmadu Bello University. They use snakes sometimes to pursue their politics in chasing one vice chancellor out. And then they banned, I don't know whether our August lecturer was there at Ahmadu Bello University. When they banned, I think the next person who took over, Professor Omo, banned snakes, because I believe Femi Suleiman, if you come to their house, you see a lot of snakes. In fact, I stopped coming to their houses in area E or something like that because of snakes. So I don't know whether they have reinvented that research back to practice. And then another thing finally is to rearrange, because there are areas of nascent interest and renascent interest right now that we need to ventilate. But throughout our stay in the university, even our zoo medicine, it was only in passing. But we should inculcate this thing. But the moderator, the animal health eco, because I believe that people who fear this next month are the female gender. I don't know whether you people will sum up their courage and mark or for whether he's taking any pill or whatever, or he has taken the anti-venom for him to be so friendly. But for people like me, in fact, I will join they have just formed the Female Veterinary Doctors Association. I think I will join them. I will join them in that regard until I am safe. Looking at the lesions presented. So, so thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And then our research institutions, NVRI, should take it up. Okay. Since there's a lot of money to come in, they should be producing anti-snake venom by now. So it should be an all-embracing interwaxing of our institutions, faculties of veterinary medicine, name it, so that will come up out clean. But for me, I think I'll be in the female gender family now. The right thing is done. So when you're having your meeting in VOM, please bring me to be part of you. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. We're very grateful, sir. We'll carry you along, sir. Some of us are actually very friendly with snakes. We don't have so much fear of snakes. We'll also try to populate those of us that are in this category and would link up with Dr. Mark and with Prof so that we will get further ahead. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Now to the questions, sir. Dr. Mark and Prof, we'll be calling on you all to answer depending on how the question goes. Dr. Yemisi Adeyemi is asking that, is it only at ABU that we can have these trainings? Prof, are you still online with us? This question is best answered by you, sir. Let's give Prof a few minutes to join us if he's still on the call. Are you still on the call with us, sir? Okay, I'll move to the next question, and when Prof joins us, okay, this is actually a comment. Dr. Abubakar Haruna is saying he's a prospective new student for the courses at ABU, so we wish you well, sir, and we'll also be joining you soon for the training. We don't have a name here. This is just a tag, Techno KJS. How do you go about being equipped and taught about serpents? Dr. Maxa, please, could you help us? Someone wants to know. Well, I know that, yes, your presentation has done a lot, but I'm
glad. That means it's successful. If I can get only one person interested in snakes, it was a successful one. Thank you very much for that question. It begins with interest, actually. All my things begin with interest. I got into snakes because I had an encounter with a cobra, and it reared up to strike. It had all the opportunity to strike, but it didn't strike. I froze with fear, and then the snake turned and slithered away. Since then, I got interested. Why didn't that snake strike? Because it could have beaten me. It was in my research I got to know they actually do not want to bite. Like Prof said, the main use of the venom is feeding. So if he bites me, he's going to be hungry for a while until he's able to reproduce his venom. So they don't want to waste their venom. And when I froze and it saw that I was not a threat, it went away and kept his venom. So it begins with interest. Start your interest. I saw in the comment where somebody says funding is. Yes, funding is a major issue, but don't let that deter you. Start your interest. Start with what you have. And what is in your hand will be blessed and it will grow. But you have to start. And the first speaker that said women are afraid of snakes, actually, I think men are more afraid of snakes. In my experience, the women are usually the first to carry snakes. And I have here with me my assistant, who is as much a snake person as I am. She's not afraid of snakes at all. So you, it's really, there's no gender bias. And it's all a thing of the mind. Once you can overcome the fear in the mind and you start seeking knowledge, that's all. I don't have any anti-venom or juju like people would say. It's just knowledge that I use. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. I just saw a comment. Dr. Phoebe Daudu is asking, how do we get in touch with you, sirs? So yourself and Prof would help us and maybe leave relevant information on how to get in touch with you both. Because I know that you're both going to get a lot of students on this platform. A lot of us are very interested. Prof, thank you, sir, for joining again. Welcome back. We had a question for you, if you can hear me, sir. Dr. Yemisi Adeyemi was asking if it's only at ABU that we can get this training at the moment.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was quietly enjoying the contribution of our elder, Chief Dr. Ibe, before the network just cut me off. Yeah, so I will want to start from him first before we move to the others. So actually the dilemma, because I will call it a dilemma, of Dr. Ibokwe was so amazing. I first heard it from our elder pharmacologist, Professor Asuzu, who I met in Federal Ministry of Health during one of these anti-venom symposia. And he told me about him, but this has always been our stand in the academia. If you have any claim, bring it to the lab, and we have ways of, we don't throw away anything. Africa is rich. We have so many medications that the white don't even know about, but we have means of testing them in the lab. We have the venom, we have the technique, we have the manpower. If we have anybody that have such things, bring them. Unfortunately for Dr. Ibokwe, he was using it to treat the almighty HA taker with success, and yet he died with it without telling anybody what it's all about. But we hope others will learn from that. And whenever you think you have an antidote, bring it to the lab and we will take care of it. Now, concerning the issue of training, well, in zootoxicology is a very specialized area in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and we're doing everything we can to give training to whoever we feel is interested. We've had people from University of Ibadan, we've had people from zoology, Ibadan, and so many other places. Well, for now, I think the training is more of an ABU thing. But at interval, we try to organize a kind of workshop for those who are interested. But the unfortunate thing we've had is that it has been done by the school, so the publicity is a bit poor. But now that the department is taking over, I think the publicity will be better. Again, I think the key thing, the most important thing is partnership. I've met Dr. Mark in Lagos during the last NVMA convention, but unfortunately, we never had time to discuss at length. I think what the veterinary profession needs now is coming together as a profession, coming together, bringing all the professionals together. We have elders among us. I just talked about Professor Asuzu. You can see Professor Ibe still found time, Dr. Ibe still found time to be with us here, despite his very tight schedule. And I'm sure we have elders who will lead us, who will guide us, who will give us all the moral and all the support we need. We need to just come together. Training in ABU alone is not the only key thing. I think the major thing is for us to come together, organize these trainings, even together, and so that we can leave a better legacy for the younger vets coming up. Thank you. So, thank you, my moderator. Yeah. Moderator, I think I've answered the question.
Moderator, you have the floor. Well, till the moderator comes, let me quickly, there's a question here, courses like handling and collection, venom collection should be readily available for studies. And another person said, why are these things not being taught in our, as courses in our veterinary school? Well, you remember I mentioned the challenge that we're given at the course I went to in Zimbabwe, that West Africa is not ready. It is my dream to see that this status quo is changed. And I honestly hope the faculties in the various veterinary schools, in various veterinary schools in the various universities will take up this challenge and introduce reptile medicine. Our knowledge of reptile is so inadequate. When I went for training on sea turtles in the Maldives, it was there I learned that turtles have nucleated red cells. I didn't know that, and I went through vet school, you know. So we need to inculcate reptile medicine into our curriculum. It's very important. And as a warning, if we do not do this deliberately, inculcating reptile medicine, herpetology, and all that deliberately into our curriculum, you would have organizations outside that will do it, because there's that lacuna, there's that gap, knowledge gap, and it will be filled. That's one thing about knowledge. For vets in canine practice, they were shocked. About 10 years ago, there was nothing like Breeders Association, but now Breeders Association are taking over everything, and we're having to fight with them for even the basics. And very soon they'll start treating or something, and they will be in trouble. You see. So, and that's how also the dog training and all that, that's how also it will be in herpetology. If the academia does not sit up to inculcate this deliberately, you would have private organizations giving the certification, the training and the certification of herpetology to people.
Sure.
So that's the thing with knowledge, that's the thing with opportunity. It doesn't stay unhandled. Somebody else must step in and take it. I don't know if the moderator is back.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Sorry, we had a network glitch there, but we're back. Thank you so much, sir, for filling in. We're grateful. Thank you. So we have a question about zoonosis. Professor, can you shed some light? Dr. Ibrahim is asking if there has been any case of zoonotic diseases with snakes.
Well, actually, there has been issue of zoonosis. Like every other animals, you always have issues of zoonosis. But let me clarify this. The first major case of zoonosis that snakes were implicated, which we still don't understand why they will implicate our girls, was this issue of COVID, where a school of thought was talking like it was trying to insinuate that the virus mutated from maybe snakes and bats and stuff like that. But you see, snakes harbor a lot of diseases. And just like Dr. Matt just finished saying, reptile medicine is still, it's not even studied at all. In my school, I think it's just in the past 2-3 years that we have brought in reptile medicine into wildlife medicine. So the information are still very scanty. They are still very scanty. So it is too early to call out now, but we've not had real incidences where diseases that affect man have been related to snake. But let me tell you something. Snakes should be known more for preventing diseases than causing diseases. Just like we all know, there is a dependence along this food chain. If you allow snakes, they control rats, they control mice, Rats and rodents generally, we carry a lot of diseases that are highly pathogenic to man. Snakes control them, but the pathogens have not been known to affect snakes negatively or so. Now, even the ectoparasites you are getting from snakes are not the ones that are of zoonotic importance to man. Imagine the ticks we got are aponema ticks. Aponema ticks have not been incriminated in human diseases. Again, I said it is very early to call because we've not really studied them to the way we studied others relating to other animals. But for now, we can say snakes are relatively safe compared to other animals, except, of course, for the bite. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for shedding light.
Except, of course, for the bite, which is preventable. A snake will not bite you without telling you. It will not bite you without... Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Phoebe Dowd is asking, why don't we have the knowledge about snakes as courses in veterinary medicine?
No, we've started it.
Okay.
We've started it. There is reptile medicine now in wildlife. I've taught reptile medicine for 3 years now in my school. And we are hoping we will bring it, we will introduce it to other veterinary faculty. It's just very, very important to introduce it. My student can take samples from snakes. Now they can take blood samples, they can give medication, they know how to calculate their doses, they know the routes of administration and stuff like that. So we've brought it in already. It's just that it's still in its infancy. Okay. But other veterinary faculties will surely key in as soon as we can get them into get it into their own curriculum.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll take the last question before we go into the next segment. Someone is asking, will this be under the Ministry of Livestock or Wildlife Services and Conservation will be created? I don't know who wants to take that, sir.
Well, let me allow Dr. Mark speak
Dr.
to
Mark,
that.
I don't know where it should be on that, but the most important thing is it should be done. And I believe whoever takes point in the matter would run it. If vets take point in herpetology in Nigeria, then we can dictate what happens. There was a time some years ago, Prof, I don't know if you remember, where a container filled with thousands of snakes was seen in Nigeria, and we didn't know what to do with it. I think it was destroyed or sent back or something. If we had a functional herpetology department, and then we have that a registered group of herpetologists, this becomes material for them to use. You see, so it's who takes point that would lead it. But if we all turn our back to the snake question and say, oh, snakes are demonic, snakes are devils, then we won't be there to address the matter when it arises.
Okay. Coordinator, if I could also speak to this.
Yes,
presently, I know that most antivenom producing companies that use Nigerian snakes come to Nigeria to get these snakes, and they get clearance from Federal Ministry of Environment. That is where they get their licenses and clearance from. Of course, we have been talking to Federal Ministry of Environment that this is very dangerous for our own habitofauna. We can't be giving out snakes just like that, and they sell antivenom to us at very high exorbitant rates. So if we may have, I think the Vet Council of Nigeria, the NVMA through the Vet Council of Nigeria should play a key role. It should be under Ministry of Veterinary, Department of Veterinary Services. So if that department is going to be under Ministry of Livestock, fine. If it's going to be under Ministry of Agriculture, fine. But just as Dr. rightly mentioned, we just want it to function properly. We just want things to be done, not just for making political statements. Let things be done properly. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all the contributions. We've been getting a lot of messages of thanks. Thank you so much, Dr. Mark. Thank you so much, Professor Yusuf. We're grateful. We're very well enlightened. We see, okay, CEO Farmalat is on this call, Dr. Femi Kayode. Please, sir, you have the floor for your contributions as well. Thank you, sir. You have the floor, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Grace, and thank you so much, Prof. and Dr. Mark. Please, I see Professor Akande raise up her hand. I have the privilege of also knowing her personally as a professor of toxicology, University of Abuja. So do you mind, Backen, can you unmute her before I say something, then you can move on? Backen, Professor Akande Motunrayo. Can you please unmute her? She raised her hands earlier, and I thought we could just quickly take her.
Yes, sir.
Krofma. Oh, she's off. All right. So let me just maybe by the time before I'm done, she's up. Thank you so much, Prof. I'm also naturally ahead, so I'm happy to identify myself with just the one and only BU that we have in the country. What I just want to two questions. First, it's to figure out, you mentioned, I love the figures that the anti-venom market, it's billions of dollars. That caught my attention. And then you mentioned that starting up these will probably take a little less than 100 million. So can it be done on a smaller scale in the faculty? If yes, what would be the minimum sum of money required to have something piloted in ABU? Since we have you as the experts, maybe we could walk around and create something small and start making the billions from ABU.
Wow, I'm excited. Okay. Thank you very much, Doctor. I really appreciate this very kind gesture of yours. You see, antivenom production has to do with just raising immunoglobulins and probably refining it to FAB fragment, which we call fragment antigen base, and then later preservative and violin. So when I said it won't be up to 100 million, I'm just talking conservatively. Definitely it can be up to that amount. But if you want actual figure, I could sit down, write it down and send the proposal to you personally so that you can have a look at it.
All right, then maybe we can raise the entire sum from all our professors and business mogul on this call. I can see Dr. Tunji, I can see Dr. Kunle, I can see Dr. Charles, but I'm happy to follow through once we have something that is minimal that we could start with and start producing. I can see Professor Akande back. Can we unmute her? Back end, Professor Motunrayo Akande, can we unmute her? Well, if not, Dr. Grace, thank you so much. Wonderful job and great to see how well you are handling this.
Thank you,
she's
sir.
muted.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, yes.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I want to thank the hub experts for their interesting. Yeah, good afternoon. I'm happy to be here. I want to thank the hub experts for their interesting presentations. The presentations were really insightful. I want to inform us that according to VCN, that's Veterinary Council of Nigeria, and NUC guidelines, every veterinary school is supposed to have a apiarium. So when we are talking about snakes, then specifically, every veterinary school ought to have a serpentarium, such that when our students are being trained in ecology, they already get used to handling the snakes. It's not when they graduate and they now see snake charmers handling snakes, and it's a huge challenge for us. For those of us in academia, yes, ABU is actually leading in terms of hepatology, but other vet schools also have to rise up to this challenge. If we want to train our students to be competent veterinarians, then we cannot just wait for this, okay? And then I strongly support the idea of reptile medicine, because in a state like Gobi State now, you see that there's a high incidence of snake bites. And people are no longer going to their farms because, you know, they are scared of being bitten by snakes. So, you know, veterinarians, this is an important area for us to actually make ourselves relevant. We have to demystify snakes. Yes, all these spiritual things, they have to be cancelled. Okay. And I really want to advocate that academics and wildlife experts like Dr. Mark Ofua, we have a lot of work to do. Because the students, for me in academia, our students should not be scared of snakes. We should be able to handle the snakes. Thank you very much for listening. I'm glad to be here once again. Thank you. Hello? Hello? Okay.
We can hear you, Prof. Ma.
Okay, all right. Okay, so that's all I have to say for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so moving on. I don't know if we can all hear me. We have a bit of network glitches. Okay. So sometimes we go off. Thank you. Moving on to the next phase. Before we go to what we have next, we want to take this opportunity to thank everyone again for being on this platform. Particularly, we want to say thank you to the Veterinary Council of Nigeria. They are always fully represented in Tecla events and they back us up. Thank you for NVMA and all other associations and bodies that always make a representation.
Okay, Dr. Grace, I'm not sure if we can hear you. All right, so while she's trying to get her network up, I just want to quickly chip in that Farmlab, it's launching a platform shortly driven by data. One of the key interesting part of today's meeting was that we started hearing, hello, can we all hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we started hearing figures that we haven't heard before. I didn't know that the snake business could be a multi-billion dollar business. Then I also didn't know that antivenoms were 200,000 per dose, meaning that it's quite expensive to attend to this. So one of the key things around the driven by data newsletters or platform we want to establish is to bring research data like this to the public. We have a database of over 10,000 veterinarians across the African continent. So we think by putting together some of these data, collaborating with researchers like Prof. Dr. Mark, and then across our various universities, we could have these data in pictures and share it across board. Maybe we can raise awareness and have a very robust collaborations among ourselves in the African continent, not just in Nigeria. I think the more people know, the better we can do. So please, we've already hired somebody who is joining our team, Dr. Eugenia, coordinating the research and the data aspect in Farmalot, specifically on the Driven by Data project. And if you want to you have data you want to share to the entire African animal health community, I think from next month, it will be an interesting time to send those data to us and we'll have it published. So I just said I should chip that in. We will be doing an official letter to all our universities, all our professors, people who have things they want to share, but they want the inputs or the participation of a larger audience. We'll be providing that level of exposure to it, and happy to collaborate with you, Prof, on this. So Dr. Grace, let me hand over the stage to you.
Can you? Okay. Okay, if everyone can hear me, we're moving on now. Thank you so much, sir, for stepping in. Thank you, and also for the information. We're moving now to the post-quiz. We had it before we started, and we're going to take another one now. And back end, please help us to load the polls so we can see if we have a difference of opinion from what we chose before now and now also. So back end, we're waiting for our engineers. Thank you for putting this up. So let's go ahead and participate. Let's engage like we did at the beginning of the event before the presentation. See if your opinions have changed, if your knowledge has increased with regards to all we've learned. Okay, we're participating. Thank you. Okay, so the poll will be up for a couple more seconds and then before we would shut it down. Thank you all for participating. We can engage a little more. Okay, this is good. Can we get more participants before it shuts down? Back end, you give up a couple more seconds before you close the poll, please. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for engaging. We'll be moving on shortly. Okay. So to the next thing, a bit of information for us. Farmalat now serves as a private CE provider to the Veterinary Council of Nigeria. The following steps are can you hear me now? Sorry, today's glitches are multiple. Okay, so please just follow the information on your screen for the certificates, very important. Thank you so much for the responses. We'll be expecting feedback from you on WhatsApp so we can process your certificates. What other topics would you want us to address? Please leave them in the comment section and then we'll get to them just as we did last week. And we had us a fantastic event today based on your contributions. So yes, We need your contributions, suggestions on topics. We would like you to follow us on our social media platforms. You can just search Farmalart on Google and you'll have all of these links and you get information on the happenings at Farmalart, Tecla, and all other events and solutions that Farmalart is providing. So whether you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or you're on all of them, you can follow Farmalart and you'll be well informed on everything that Farmalart is providing. We're grateful for the time you put in. We're grateful for all of the contributions and the efforts. Thank you so much.